Welcome to this lesson on the building blocks of geometry. Today we're going to talk about how to identify lines and name them, identifying line segments and naming them, how to identify rays and how to name them. And then in part 2 we're going to talk about identifying perpendicular lines, parallel lines, and using the definitions of lines and types of lines and line segments to determine relationships between different lines. Alright, so first we need to know what all these pieces are. So to start off, we have a point. A point is the location that has no size and you name it by a capital letter. So a point is usually indicated by a dot, and then it has a capital letter. In this case, I named it P, or you can call it point P. A line is a series of points that extend in opposite directions without end. You name it by any 2 points on the line. Okay, so in this case, we have line AB. You can see it goes on in either direction because of the arrows on either end. And A and B are the only points that we see on here, so we call it line A, B, or we can call it line BA. You can switch the letters around. It doesn't matter in this case because it goes on forever in both directions. Otherwise, you can use a symbol to name it, and you just put a line above it. Notice the line has the 2 arrows because if it doesn't, that means something else. Or you can call it line BA. A line segment is a part of a line with 2 endpoints. So line segments are going to be somewhere within this line. And then you name a line segment by its endpoints. So you can have a line segment within a line, or you can have a line segment by itself. So here we have this line that goes on forever in both directions, but within the line, you have several line segments. So here you have line segment AB or BA. Again, you can name it either way, but you start at one endpoint and go to the other. So there's AB and BA. Okay, and then you also have line segment BC or CB. And again, you can use the symbol. Notice the symbol in this case does not have the arrows because the arrows indicate that it's a line and it goes on forever. In this case, it does not go on forever. It starts at an endpoint and goes to another endpoint. Notice I'm not highlighting past that endpoint because this is not part of the line segment. Okay, so the word segment means part. It's a section. And then here you also have line segment AC, so from A to C. So line segments AB and BC are within line segment AC. Okay, and again, you can name it using words or symbols. Just remember that your symbols have to have that line segment symbol above with no arrows. A ray is a part of a line with one endpoint and all the points on the line on one side of that endpoint. You name a ray using 2 points, starting with the endpoint. So this one is actually really important to note that it's starting with the endpoint. All right, so for example, here's an endpoint on this side, but on this one it goes on forever in that direction. Okay, and then you have K and L. So again, you have to start with the endpoint. So here the endpoint is J. So that's what I start with each time. Now I can name this JK because it'll continue on and go on forever. Or I can name it JL because it goes from J to L and still goes on forever. Okay, we're still talking about the same ray, we're just giving it 2 different names. However, you cannot flip it. Notice here we said AB or BA, BC or CB, AC or CA. So we cannot flip this. It has to start with the endpoint. So use the diagram to name each of the geometric figures. So looking at this, we're going to name all the points. So any point that has That label of a capital letter is a point on this plane or on these lines. So we have point A, B, C, D, and E. And then all the lines. So in this case, we're looking for the ones that go on forever. So we see that we have the arrows here. So this line, AB, goes on forever. So we have line AB. Okay, and now we can't put line BA because AB and BA are the same thing. And then notice we also have this line that goes on forever. That also has B because AB and BE intersect at B, but BE also goes on forever. So this is line BE. And then again, a point shared by two lines would be point B because of the fact that it's on AB and BE. We call that the point of intersection. All right, and then now we're going to use this other figure to name all the line segments and all the rays. So in this case, we have to look at, yes, this goes on forever, but we're not talking about this whole line. Now we're talking about the line segments. So we're talking about those pieces again. So if you look here, you have from Q from R to P. Okay, and I know P is written way over here, but it does go with this point. So you have from R to P. So you have line segment R, P. Okay, so you're only talking about this portion of the line right here. Then you have from R to N. So you have line segment RN. Again, we don't list NR and PR because of the fact that those are the same line segments. If it said name all the line segments in all the ways, then yes, we would list those other ways. Now in this case, we're looking for the rays. So here, we're looking for a point, okay, so an endpoint, and then for it to go on in one direction forever. So yes, it goes on in this direction, but this right here, so let's, oops, this right here is a ray because of the fact that it has this endpoint. Okay, so we can give it this endpoint, and then it goes on forever up here because we see that arrow up there. So we can call this ray RN. Now this is where we can flip it and write that there's two different rays because this ray, so now I had RN that went in this direction, and I'm actually going to take and move this a little bit. I'm going to erase this. I'm going to move this over here. Get rid of all my extra drawings here. Now I have this endpoint here of N, and I know that it goes on forever in this direction because I have this arrow up here. And I have a ray that now goes this way. So now I do have ray and R. Those are different rays because one starts at R and basically goes down and to the right, and one starts at N and goes up and to the left. Okay, so now we have to look at the other line. So now we have a ray starting at R, and here's the arrow that tells us that it goes on forever in this direction. So we have R and it goes on to P. So we also have ray RP. Again, that's not the only ray we have because it is different going from R to P than it is from going from P to R. In this case, again, look at, we have the arrow that indicates that it goes on forever here. It goes this way. So here we have ray P R. And then that would be all of the rays because there are no more endpoints that go in different directions. You have this direct, you have down and to the left, down and to the right, up and to the right, and up and to the left. So you only have those 4 different rays that you could identify. And I'll put all these here so we can see all of them. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to take some time and you are going to identify the 3 different line segments and then all the ways to name this line. And you're going to name all of the rays, and then you're going to give me another name for ray TU. As always, if you have any questions, be sure to write them down or ask so we can go over them in class.